because it's not always. And lastly, probably the reason why you came here, because you wouldn't come to this workshop if you didn't believe in learner-driven education, is the last thing we're going to try to answer, and the thing we're going to try to have as a takeaway, is how do we do that in our classroom? So those are the questions I'm trying to answer. So I guess we should start with the first one, the why. Why do we do learner-driven education? And the main reason for that is because deeper learning happens if teaching and learning is driven by the learner. I'll try to explain that in a little bit more detail in a minute. At least give you the background on the research that shows that this is an effective teaching method. So most of it comes from cognitive psychology. And the idea then, cognitive psychology shows that learners need to engage with co-construct knowledge in order to experience that deep and meaningful learning that we're looking for. Something that we call lasting learning, something that goes well beyond the end of a class, well beyond the next week, well beyond the test, and something that lasts through adulthood. Here's just a snippet of some of the evidence. And also it's been shown then that it is better for problem solving and creativity. Just a little snippet of some of the research. Essentially, the models of learner-driven education recognize two things. And those two things are that any good teaching and learning practice involves incentive and engagement. The kids have to be motivated to learn, and they've got to want to be involved in that learning. And no matter what you do, if you don't have incentive, you don't have engagement, it's really tough to get a child to have any deep understanding and lasting knowledge of anything. Essentially, it's a very simple adage. So moving on to the what. What does learner-driven education look like in our classrooms? Essentially, any practice that both engages and incentivizes will produce the results that we're looking for in the learner-driven education. And I'm going to begin by practicing what I preach. I'm going to try to turn it over to you. Try to engage you in the learning process a little bit, and try to incentivize you to want to stay for the remaining 60 minutes of this workshop that I'm doing. And we're going to begin with something very simple called the placemat activity. Now, some of you may have used this before, perhaps this is new to you, but what it involves is this. It involves a big work. And that's why when you first came in, I asked you to sit at tables together. And I'm glad that you did. I appreciate that. Because sitting in different places around the room, something like this. So you have 4 quadrants and something in the middle.
ارسمي مربع كبير الاول وبعدين جواه المربع الكبير.
هو مفيش مربع صغير.
لا هو في
انا فاهمه
احنا عندنا سن مختلفه.
Can I ask you a question? How many people are actually classroom teachers?
ايوه من هنا ايوه المربع الكبير الاول.
Classroom teachers rather than administrators. These are presently working in a classroom. So here's a little technique you can try with your children. One of the things we're trying to do is to get them to collaborate. This is a good way to do it. So what we're going to do here is you have 4 different quadrants. I'd like you to divide yourselves up. So we have 2. There's a can be you here at the table. Perhaps what we're trying to do is get you a mix of the good. And then what I want you to do with the discussion at the table. What I want you to do is decide who's going to be writing in which box, and leave the middle one blank. So, think for a placemat, learner-driven education, and then you write it in one of those 4 quadrants, and leave the middle one blank for now, please.
learning what's their experience and what it feels like to do these things. It's also quite collaborative, so I can see the way you're all trying to think together. And so each of you's got a piece of you in here, but now you're trying to see how it compares to other people, but without it feeling very like threatening or different. So I think you could do this with anything. It could be teaching a language. Today we're going to learn about these vocab things. So how scary is this? How exciting is it? Write down a piece of vocab that's really, really scary for you to learn about, something that's really exciting for you to learn about. And then how exciting is it? Super exciting? Super scary? You can just know you're sure that they're behaving how they.
Das ist normal. Die Motoren.
Okay, if I can get people to listen in just a moment. As you know, one of the things that we do in inquiry is that things have a build-up. And of course, hopefully in your discussions that you've just been having, that there are opportunities where you see a couple of groupings and a couple of topics coming out. So I want you to think about what topic for you or what thinking for you has come out of this class at your table, okay? And you'll only have enough to do 2 topics. So start to think about in your mind, what kind of topics would you like to go deeper into, really unpacking. And I'm going to give you some instructions about a really good tool to help you unpack a complex challenge. But I guess one way to think about that in the context of this work is this is the beginning of that, can be that bunker room I was just saying to the table at the front, where you get students or even teachers to get their thinking out and trying to make sense of a complex challenge. This is a wall in a classroom in Brisbane, in Australia. So this is a year 5 classroom of students, so about 10 years old. And so here they are investigating Australian history. In Australia, we often teach students about the gold rush that happened in Australia during the 1850s. And teachers often teach it because they say, oh, it's there because it has to be in the curriculum and we have to teach it. But really when you look at why you're teaching that, it's not just about learning about history just because you have to. It's learning about what patterns can we see happen from history. And what you see here is a unit of work that these teachers redesigned. So it's less about just learning facts and learning history, and more about understanding what was the point. And of course, the title of this topic was called Mine, Mine, Mine. And as the children looked at this topic, and you can see they've got, it's a bit messy. You know, and that's kind of what our brains look like initially. It's all a bit messy, and being okay with it's a bit messy. And out of that we get meaning. And so here, they're looking at how these things start to connect. It's not just about gold. We're still getting diamonds out of the ground, and coal and oil, and this drive for mine, mine, mine. And the kids are really conflicted about that. You know, what's the impact on that? The other thing that you notice here is that even though the students are doing this thinking together, on the right-hand side, you can see the teacher trying to explain the type of process she wants those students to learn about.
This is, again, fast little tip, but I just went to Google and I typed timer, and a timer pops up. And then you can click on it. Actually, you can either do a stopwatch or a timer, okay? You can put in how much time you want, start, and then make it big. So that's, I love to do turn, pair, and share, okay? Talk with your neighbor, and then if we have a little bit more time, we'll also share back, okay? But can you tell the problem I'm having right now? If my wife was here, what would she tell me? You're talking too much, Wes. So you know what? I love to start my STEM classes with a video or a curiosity link. And because there are things that are just unbelievable right now. Stuff with 3D printing. You've seen the rhino horn where they chemically recreated the rhino horn to try to disrupt the slaughter of rhinos in parts of Africa. Anyway, it's a 3D printing. There's amazing stuff. But I literally would have one of my students time me and say, I want you to tell me when it's 10 minutes because I got to stop. Some kids would be real excited and some would just be like, Dr. Fryer, sit down. We want to make a catapult, you know. You may be like that now. So there's a lot of stuff on those websites. The third website here, Seeing New Shapes. My friend, Megan Thompson, is the art teacher at our motor school, 1st through 4th grade. And I get to teach an after school, we call it STEAM Studio. So we add an A to STEM, and it's for the art, okay? And so that's very fun. We do that in the fall. And so we've been sharing. In fact, we're going to reflect. We have the kids doing puppets and making puppets, and then recording and using voices and just being kind of silly. But there were a lot of great things that we were learning as we were doing that. Okay, so websites to check out. How many of you use Twitter as a teacher? Okay, does anybody else? Okay, please consider using Twitter. I learn more from other teachers around the world because of Twitter than any other place. Teachers, there's 71 who teach STEM right now and use Twitter. Does anyone here either play Minecraft or know kids that play Minecraft? Is Minecraft a thing in Egypt? Yeah. It is like crack cocaine, but good, you know, with kids. Like, it's amazing how passionate they are. And we've used Minecraft at school. There's an educational version of Minecraft. Well, this is a shout out to Minecraft, and if you know any kids that know Minecraft, there's something.
Analysis of what the feedback was.
Terrific. So you said it was time because you had a mission and vision in place for 25 years.
Right.
So there's no hard and fast rule that you're never going to change your mission and vision, but if you change it every 3 years, it probably is not going to have any lasting power. You don't have time to actually achieve it. Your theory of action, in my opinion, is where you can start to see change within a 3 to 5 year period of time. If the theory of action is a hypothesis, I want to test some of those inputs to see if they're getting what the result that I thought they'd get. The output. If you're any of your science teachers in here, you know that that's probably not going to take 25 years to test some of those inputs, because if you're waiting that long, you're maybe not accelerating growth as fast as we hope to within their strategic planning process. So this is where change starts to happen. Then we get even more granular with priorities and goals. And you all pulled those out, right? Many of you said a strategic plan is a set of priorities. They were, in that particular state, the organizations that didn't achieve very well. And one of the things that the group came to was we probably are trying to do too much with 90. So a strategic priority is just that. It means something has to be left off. And that doesn't mean that your strategic priority is 12 pages long just to get everyone's thoughts and ideas in. That's where the real hard work comes in when you start developing strategic priorities. And we'll talk about how you can start to filter those priorities and eliminate some. What's a process for doing that? We'll get there in a minute. And then developing measurable goals related to that. Finally, we get to what some of you categorize as this operational focus, in my opinion. Initiatives and action steps. Initiatives and action steps, those live at the kind of level of the school leader, of teachers, of not the board, because the board is not, or your founder of your school, the board or the founder are not the ones who have day-to-day responsibility for making things happen. The board and the founder are concerned about mission and vision, core beliefs, and are we actually making progress as measured by these measurable goals. What's down here that are implementing day-to-day is they do have to be on the same page. And they all have to understand the strategic plan. This is not the founder's plan for moving the school forward. This is our organization's plan. This is the student's plan, this is the parent's plan, this is the teacher's plan, and therefore it needs to reflect their language and their thinking. And so we'll talk about a process for doing that as we move forward throughout the rest of the session. Any questions on this framework? Yes?
So the core beliefs will have the values and the principles of
Yes.
what I want to do. And the values will be translated into a process or processes and KPIs. So this is the framework.
Things that live here. Things that live here. Any other questions before we move on? Yes?
It's responsible to set the initiatives or to decide.
Oh, good question.
The initiatives.
Who's responsible for actually determining these initiatives, right?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. So, if back here we said a strategic plan is a vision, it is a direction forward, but it is not the day-to-day sort of operations, and someone pushed on that a little bit and said, but wait a minute, it has to include some of the day-to-day stuff, or at least give us enough direction. This is where involving kind of every stakeholder that has a role is really important. The way that might look is in an organization, you have a steering committee and a group of leaders who are setting the mission and vision, core beliefs, theory of action, and these things. You then have school leaders and teachers who have to carry that out on a day-to-day basis. And so that's who's implementing this stuff. The initiatives, the action steps. In the States, when we do this work, oftentimes with the school districts, those are like the managers of different departments in the school district. The manager of the academic department is responsible for developing their own operating plan or their own work plan with their initiatives and action steps. But they don't do that outside of and disconnected from these priorities and measurable goals. So that's how the sort of people interchange and work together. If there's only one group who has a set of initiatives that are aligned to these, so like the academic team has their own operating plan, but we forgot to include the HR director or the finance team, because oftentimes in a strategic plan we think a lot about how we're going to move academics. We've missed an opportunity to connect those ideas and to not operate in silos. We've missed an opportunity to think about how we align our work. And we align our work by looking at each other's work plans and operating plans and say, hey, your initiatives overlap with mine. And so we can work together to figure out how we can be more efficient in our actions and in our initiatives. So that's how it starts to play out and how these different steps are owned by different individuals. Any other questions about this? Yes?
This framework, it needs only a structural hierarchy, and can it work with other new models of structures and management, the circles things, the bureaucracy and stuff? Can it implement this framework, or you need a hierarchy to be able to do this?
That's a great question. You need a hierarchy in order to be able to implement this framework. So at a school, for example, we have someone who's ultimately responsible for leading the school, often a school leader.
To help them understand their learning. So can you identify focus for learning that students tend to struggle with? Now think about, once you've got that, can you identify why they struggle? Have you got any ideas as to why they find that part of their learning really difficult? And once you've thought about that, begin to think about a learning opportunity that you could develop for those students to help overcome this. Okay, so this is really you beginning to reflect upon and thinking about why. And if we don't understand that, how can we help students learn better? So just have a think about those questions and jot some ideas down, just for 10 minutes or so.
شكسبير بتعرفوا هاملت؟ هاملت ايش كانت عودته؟ التردد. التي تؤدي الى الاتي. المعلم بيعملها للطالب. طبعا مين اللي عملها؟ هو حلها بس حضرتها انا هي الورقه اللي عملت التحضيريه صح المهام المفتوحه لما ايضا مجهزها كل وقت الجوزيه للتقييم لكن هو ضروري سنأتي الان كم يشارك الطفل المتعلم بالتقييم يعني هاي الجزئيه كثير مهمه وسنراها بعد قليل. خلينا نكمل في ادوات التقييم. هذه الخمس ادوات هي الادوات الكبيره التي تقيم كل استراتيجية التعليم أو كل الشيء التي مارسها الطفل. إذا حد تصورها تفضلوا أو تكتبوها. شبكات التقييم سنأتي عليها بالتفصيل. مش حنكر انه انا كثير ببحث في كل مرة عاوزة اخاطب فيها الناس، ولكن الخبرة ايضا التي نملكها لا يمكن ابدا انه ننساها. جمعت الخبرة التي املكها مع الاشياء الموجودة فعلا اونلاين، وخرجت بأن المعايير التي تقودنا في شبكات في تصميم شبكات التقييم هي الآتية.